In a seemingly perfect gated community where manicured lawns and pristine pools define the landscape, a neighbor found herself embroiled in a battle against the Homeowners Association over what many deemed an absurd issue: unauthorized pool use. This was not just any pool. It was a communal space meant for relaxation and enjoyment. Yet the HOA had imposed strict regulations that left little room for flexibility. A spirited resident named Sarah discovered that her innocent afternoon swim had led to an unjust fine levied by none other than Linda, the HOA treasurer, known for her rigid adherence to the rules. Linda's unwavering commitment to enforcing the HOA's regulations often overshadowed the community spirit, creating an atmosphere of fear and resentment among the residents. Sarah's struggle against this seemingly tyrannical enforcement became a rallying point for others who felt similarly oppressed. As she navigated the labyrinth of HOA regulations, she uncovered a web of inconsistencies and unfair practices that had long gone unchallenged. Sarah sat at her kitchen table, staring in disbelief at the letter that had just arrived from the Homeowners Association. The hefty fine for unauthorized pool activities felt like a cruel joke. Confusion washed over her as she tried to comprehend how she could be penalized for events she hadn't even hosted. She had only enjoyed a few peaceful swims in the community pool, never once thinking she would be at the center of such an absurd situation. The fine, accompanied by a stern warning, was signed by Linda, the HOA treasurer, whose reputation for strict enforcement of the rules was well known among the residents. Linda had always been a stickler for regulations, but this felt particularly outrageous. Sarah had not only followed the rules, but had also been denied access to the pool for weeks due to maintenance issues. The irony of being fined for something she hadn't done, especially when she had been unable to use the pool, was infuriating. How could the HOA justify punishing her for activities that occurred without her involvement? It seemed like a blatant misuse of power, and Sarah felt a surge of frustration at the thought of Linda wielding such authority over her life. As she contemplated her next steps, the absurdity of the situation became clearer. This was not just about a fine. It was about standing up against an unjust system that seemed determined to enforce rules without considering the realities of the residents' lives. Sarah knew she had to fight back. In Willow Grove, the neighborhood was a picture of uniformity, with every house painted in muted tones and meticulously trimmed hedges lining the streets. The Homeowners Association had an almost obsessive commitment to maintaining this pristine image, enforcing a strict set of regulations that governed everything from lawn care to holiday decorations. Residents were often left feeling stifled by the relentless control exerted by the HOA, which seemed more focused on conformity than community spirit. Sarah, the protagonist, found herself navigating this rigid landscape, determined to comply with the HOA's demands despite the challenges that arose. She spent countless hours ensuring her yard met the exact specifications outlined in the HOA guidelines, even as her neighbors whispered about the absurdity of such stringent rules. The fear of HOA violations loomed large over the residents, creating an atmosphere of anxiety and tension. A single infraction could lead to hefty fines or even legal action, leaving many feeling trapped in a system that prioritized rules over individual expression. Sarah had witnessed friends receive warnings for minor infractions, such as a flower bed that didn't match the approved color palette or a fence that was deemed too tall. This culture of fear kept residents on edge, constantly second-guessing their choices. Despite her efforts to adhere to the regulations, Sarah felt the weight of the HOA's scrutiny bearing down on her. The desire for a harmonious community was overshadowed by the oppressive nature of the rules, and Sarah began to question whether this was the kind of neighborhood she truly wanted to be a part of. Determined to uncover the truth behind the unjust fines, Sarah made the bold decision to investigate the source of the penalties that had been levied against her. As she delved deeper into the HOA's records, she stumbled upon a shocking revelation. There had been unauthorized access to the community pool registered under her name. Confusion turned to anger as she realized that someone had been using the pool without her consent, and the HOA had chosen to penalize her instead of addressing the real issue. Seeking clarity, Sarah turned to her neighbor, George, a longtime resident known for his knowledge of the community's inner workings. Over coffee, George shared his insights, revealing that unauthorized pool parties had become a common occurrence, often overlooked by the HOA in their quest for conformity. He explained how the treasurer, Linda, had been quick to impose fines without thoroughly investigating the circumstances, creating a culture of fear among residents. Inspired by George's support, Sarah felt a renewed sense of determination to gather evidence against the HOA. She began documenting instances of unauthorized access, collecting testimonies from other residents who had faced similar fines. Armed with this information, she envisioned a confrontation with the HOA that would expose their negligence and restore fairness to the community. Sarah's resolve grew stronger with each passing day, as she realized that this fight was not just about her own situation, but about standing up for all the residents who had been wronged by the HOA's arbitrary enforcement. With a newfound sense of purpose, Sarah devised a methodical approach to collect evidence against the HOA, determined to expose the injustices that had plagued her community. She began by installing trail cameras around the pool area, strategically positioned to capture any unauthorized access. This would provide undeniable proof of who was using the pool without permission, and she hoped it would also reveal any potential misconduct by the HOA. Alongside this, Sarah initiated a series of email inquiries directed at the HOA, requesting detailed records of pool maintenance costs and any fines issued. Her persistence paid off when she uncovered discrepancies in the financial reports, leading her to suspect fraudulent activities related to the pool's upkeep. The maintenance costs seemed inflated, and Sarah began to connect the dots, realizing that the HOA might be profiting from the fines they imposed on unsuspecting residents. With each piece of evidence she gathered, her strategy became clearer. Sarah meticulously organized her findings, creating a comprehensive dossier that highlighted not only the unauthorized pool usage, but also the questionable financial practices of the HOA. She reached out to other residents, encouraging them to share their experiences and join her cause. This collective effort strengthened her resolve as she recognized that exposing the HOA's corruption was not just her battle, but a fight for the entire community. Sarah's strategic planning and careful documentation set the stage for a confrontation that would challenge the HOA's authority and demand accountability for their actions. She was ready to take a stand for justice. As the day of the HOA meeting approached, Sarah felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. She meticulously prepared her presentation, organizing her evidence into a clear and compelling narrative that would expose the injustices she had uncovered. Arriving at the community center, she could sense the tension in the room. The air was thick with unspoken apprehension as residents gathered to witness the confrontation. When it was her turn to speak, Sarah stood before the board members, her heart racing but her resolve unwavering. She began to present her findings, detailing the unauthorized pool access and the inflated maintenance costs that had burdened the community. The room fell silent as she displayed the trail camera footage, capturing the unauthorized activities that had led to her unjust fines. The reactions of the board members were mixed. Some appeared defensive, while others exchanged uneasy glances. Linda, seated at the head of the table, wore a mask of disbelief, her expression shifting from annoyance to concern as Sarah laid bare the evidence. With each point Sarah made, her confidence grew, fueled by the support of her fellow residents who had come to witness the truth unfold. She emphasized the need for accountability and transparency, urging the board to reconsider their practices and treat residents with fairness. As she concluded her presentation, Sarah felt a surge of determination. This was not just about her fight, but a stand for justice that resonated with everyone in the room. She had taken a bold step toward reclaiming her community, and she was ready to see it through. In the aftermath of the meeting, the atmosphere in Willow Grove shifted dramatically. The board members, faced with the overwhelming evidence Sarah had presented, quickly convened to address the fallout. An emergency notice was issued announcing a suspension of all fines pending a thorough audit of the HOA's practices. This unexpected turn of events sent ripples of relief through the community as residents felt a glimmer of hope for change. The notice also revealed that Linda, the treasurer who had enforced the fines with an iron fist, would be stepping down from her position, a consequence of the scrutiny she faced. In her place, the HOA appointed a new manager, Frank, who was known for his commitment to transparency and community engagement. Frank's arrival marked a significant shift in the HOA's leadership, as he promised to prioritize the residents' voices and foster a more inclusive environment. The community rallied around Sarah, expressing their gratitude for her courage in standing up against the injustices they had all endured. Support poured in from neighbors who had previously felt powerless, and together they began to push for accountability within the HOA. Town hall meetings became a platform for residents to voice their concerns and contribute to the decision-making process, fostering a renewed sense of community spirit. Sarah's determination had sparked a movement, and as the dust settled, it became clear that the fight for justice had not only transformed her own situation, but had also empowered her neighbors to reclaim their rights and reshape the future of Willow Grove. Sarah's journey through the tumultuous landscape of Willow Grove served as a powerful reminder of the importance of standing up against unjust authority and corruption. What began as a personal battle against an unfair fine evolved into a collective movement that empowered her entire community. Through her determination and courage, Sarah not only challenged the oppressive practices of the HOA, but also inspired her neighbors to find their voices and demand accountability. This experience taught her that change is possible when individuals unite for a common cause, and that resilience in the face of adversity can lead to meaningful transformation. Sarah's journey illustrates that it is crucial to question authority and advocate for fairness, no matter how daunting the challenge may seem. By sharing her story, Sarah hopes to ignite a spark in others, encouraging them to take action in their own communities. If you found inspiration in Sarah's fight for justice, we invite you to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with friends and family. Together, we can amplify these stories of resilience and empowerment, fostering a community where everyone feels heard and valued. Join us as we continue to explore tales of courage and determination, reminding us all that we have the power to affect change and create a better future for ourselves and our neighborhoods.